Isn't it funny how some of the most common, everyday words in English can also be the most confusing? We use them all the time without even thinking, but the second we stop and ask why, things can get a little weird. Well, today we're going to tackle one of the biggest offenders.
I mean, this is a question that pretty much every single person learning English asks. You learn the basic rule, and then right away you find a word that seems to break it. So why do we say I came home? It sounds right, we know it's right, but what's the actual reason? Let's get this sorted out once and for all.
So to get to the bottom of this, we're turning to a real classic, Michael Swan's Practical English Usage. Honestly, this book is a lifesaver for breaking down these exact kinds of tricky English problems. So yeah, we're in very good hands.
Okay, so to understand why a rule gets broken, you first have to really understand the rule itself, right? And the good news is, the basic foundation for making the past tense in English is actually super straightforward.
And here it is. This is the first past tense rule we all learn. You take a regular verb, let's say work, or play, or stay, you just slap an ed on the end, and boom, you've got the simple past. I worked yesterday. She played tennis. It's simple, it's predictable, it's reliable. Love it.
And here is where the plot thickens. Because just when you're getting all cozy with that nice, neat ed rule, you run smack into a whole group of verbs, and a lot of them are the ones we use constantly, that just refuse to follow it.
Yup, these little rule breakers have a name, irregular verbs. And getting a handle on them is a major key to unlocking English that sounds fluent and natural. So let's go ahead and put them in the spotlight.
So what is an irregular verb exactly? Well, the definition is pretty much right there in the name. It's any verb where you don't just add ed to make the past tense. See, instead of a predictable pattern, they follow these ancient patterns. A lot of them are the oldest verbs in the language. They're like holdovers from Old English, from long before the ed rule was the standard. They're kind of like grammatical fossils. And you can see that core difference right here, plain as day. On one side, you have a regular verb like work. It follows the rule perfectly, becomes worked. But on the other side, come completely changes its shape and becomes came. No ed anywhere. That's the whole ballgame right there.
All right, so let's put our main example under the microscope. If we can really nail down the mechanics of come and came, the rest of these irregular verbs will start to make a lot more sense.
First up, you've got the base form, or the infinitive, come. This is what we use for the present tense or for future plans. Think of sentences like, can I come and see you, or they come here often? This is the verb in its most basic. It's raw, unchanged state.
Now this brings us to the heart of it all. Came. This is the one and only simple past form of come. We use it for an action that is completely finished, done, over with. I came home yesterday. The action is finished. And that is exactly why comed is just wrong. It's trying to force a regular rule onto a verb that's proudly irregular.
The source material gives a great example of a really common mistake that's related to this. People might say something like, I have seen Louis yesterday, but because yesterday marks a finished time in the past, you have to use the simple past tense. So, I saw Louis yesterday. It's the exact same principle as I came home yesterday. The simple past is for actions that are completely over and done. All right, so just when you think you've got it all figured out, there's one more twist. There's a third important form of this verb. And, well, it might look a little familiar.
That's right. The third form, which is called the past participle, is come, the exact same as the base form. So the pattern is come, came, and then right back to come. So the crucial question is, how in the world do you know which come you're using?
Well, the key is to look for a little helper verb, what we call an auxiliary verb. You see, the past participle come never flies solo. It always comes after a verb like have, has, or had. For example, she has come to the party, or they had come before we got there. This little team-up creates what grammarians call the perfect tense, which is how we connect a past event to the present.
Okay, now that we've really dug into come, let's zoom out. Because the good news, or maybe the bad news, depending on how you feel about it, is that come has a lot of friends. It's just one of many verbs that play by these special rules.
And you can really see just how different the patterns are right here. I mean, look at go, went, gone. Those are three completely different words. Then you have do, did, done. And sometimes, like with say, said, the last two forms are actually the same. Each one is kind of its own little puzzle that you just have to learn.
And there are over 100 of these common irregular verbs in English. Now, I know that number might sound a little intimidating, but remember, these are the most frequently used verbs in the entire language. So every time you master one of them, you're taking a huge step forward in your fluency.
Okay, that was a lot to cover. So let's boil it all down to the absolute most important things to remember.
So what's the bottom line? Most verbs follow that nice, simple ed rule. But many of the words we use all the time, like come, go, and see, are the irregular exceptions. For these verbs, you have to learn their three unique forms: the base, the simple past, and the past participle. And look, there's no magic trick here. Mastering them just comes down to practice, and it's one of the fastest ways to start sounding more natural in English.
So that's the story of come versus came. It's not just some random, frustrating rule. It's a little window into the long history of the English language, which leaves us with a great question to think about. Besides come, what's that one other irregular verb that always gives you a bit of trouble?